Oh, is it? Oh, no you don't. Ooh. Hello one, hello all. It's the most formula time ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of 21 Pilots, Clancy. This is the latest album from the Ohio duo 21 Pilots, consisting of Tyler Joseph and Josh Dunn. They first came on the scene with Vessel, which I wasn't really too impressed with, and then the follow-up, Blurry Face, which I was a little more impressed with, but didn't really leave a lasting impression on me, mostly due to the very soulless reggae bits in there. And while I did think they had good ideas, I didn't think they were as well executed or adventurous. But on Trench, it was just a total 180 from there, due to how ambitious it was, how exciting it was, how epic it was, how they were really going that extra mile and nailed it when it came to the songwriting, when it came to the production, when it came to the vocals, when it came to the rapping. It was just a step up beyond all measure. And there was a follow-up record, which was a disappointment on all measures, Scaled and Icy, which in terms of writing left me very underwhelmed, which I found was obnoxious, how they approached certain issues in a very ham-fisted way, especially on important topics such as getting news from certain sources, our healthcare system, and sonically I thought was just annoying beyond all measure. Definitely the worst in their discography, especially coming after the best in their discography, which is also an album that I would say is one of the best of that year, Trench. And now we have Clancy, which is a sequel to Trench, which definitely had me excited due to how climactic Trench was, how epic Trench was. And I was actually blown away by the first single to this, Next Semester, which was explosively epic, with its pumping bass, driving guitar line, almost garage rock-like groove that definitely ran along the lines of probably rock opera, into these glistening keys with these revving guitar lines, thumping synths with these anthemic, stadium-like vocals in the background, with absolute passion, as Tyler is speaking of past tumultuous times, getting over anxiety, reminiscing on when he was a child, and predicting this world of prosperity as he's getting this wake-up call from some driver behind him saying, "Hey kid, get out of the road!" Which was definitely a nice touch to introduce the new album. And there's also Backslide, which features these beautiful woodwinds with this wall of heavy bass, dreary, super expressive vocals, and a trippy breakdown from Tyler, as Tyler is portraying his situation, being in way too deep into this scenario that he's involved in, which seems to be a very regretful one, asking the other person to let go before it gets worse. But keep in mind though, there is a storyline here, so while these are Tyler's vocals, he is speaking from the perspective of Clancy, which is a character within Trench. And there's no denying that there are moments that are very much in depth, I would say, conceptually. And I would also say in the narrative of these tracks, or topically, to the inner feelings of Clancy, which definitely match those of Trench. But this is from like the writing perspective. This is from the topical perspective. And with Trench being as adventurous and hard-hitting as it was, I do think there are tracks here that just do not meet the mark, unfortunately. But I will say Midwest Indigo is definitely one of the highlights, with an anthemic, instantaneous hook that just takes you on a very synthy, exuberant ride. And I felt the opener, Compensate, which was also a single leading into this, didn't really do much for me as a single. I mean, I do like the electronic opener. It does feel like it gets started, but it doesn't really go much into exciting territory or as demanding of attention like the opener of Trench was. And there are sentimental moments here with very good intentions. I just wish there was more bite to it, maybe more passion to be held here, even if I do dig the sentiment. And as I alluded to earlier with the topic being mental health, struggles with mental health, there are more tracks here that deal with it, and I would say the last one to stick the landing, which is maybe my favorite track on here, next to Next Semester, which is Navigate. That is a synthy banger, infectious hook. I'm navigating, I'm navigating. And I will admit, while the album does have its highlights, it definitely has more than a few duds on here, unfortunately, but I feel it mostly comes down to the haphazard rapping on here. I do feel the production is executed pretty weak. I did find the hook and production on Vignette to be underwhelming, or some rapping and production choices that just come off a little too goofy, especially for like serious matters, or if they are not being serious, or if they're trying to be funny, the humor just doesn't land. Like on the track Lavish, that has this goofy ass Uncle Adam's production to it, with a bunch of punchlines that just left me with an eye roll as opposed to a laugh. Like Big Flex Napoleon. Wasn't Napoleon supposed to be small? Or that weird ass proctologist bar, which I know is supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, but the humor just isn't landing. Or tracks where it is a serious matter, such as At the Risk of Feeling Dumb, where you're dealing in a situation of preventing a friend from making a fatal decision, and the last thing you want is weird vocal processing, weird cartoony wacky production. And there's also matters of getting older, which could have led to something, I don't know, maybe take the audience a journey on, but it just kind of fizzles out, which is a shame, because I feel on this project they definitely do approach matters that are serious. And I just feel like when doing that, you should give the audience something to hold on to, something that's going to take them on this epic, multifaceted journey, like on Trench. And I know I'm bringing up Trench a lot, but due to how great that was, wouldn't you want to be on something better than Trench, or maybe on the same level of Trench, which is your best album? And there's also the closer, which really left me scratching my head, where we get this subtle beginning that goes into this intergalactic passage, but then just abruptly ends for a bit, and then just hits us with birds chirping. And then we get a brief return, which is somewhat of a reprise, only to stop again and leave us with this cliffhanger that I'm not going to spoil the ending to. So yeah, overall, I would say decent comeback, but definitely not on the level of its predecessor, which is a shame, because I feel like around this time they did come up with some great ideas. They did have some bangers on here, but the bop to flop ratio and the storyline, I would say, becomes kind of tedious. And I truly hope that the third installment is better than this one. Not saying this was bad, but it's nowhere near as great as Trench. But hey, at least it's better than Scaled and Icy. Lord, is it better than Scaled and Icy. So I'm feeling a 3 black hearts out of 5 on this album. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? That's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, 21 Pilots, Clancy, till we meet again.